Talk to us about the learning and development, what it is, what it does, who attends, just tell us what happens there.
Okay, so we start off with an ECD, an Early Childhood Development Center, commonly known as a crèche, and our intake is from the age of 2, and the reason why we take them from the age of 2 is research has shown that if you want to impact and educate a child, you should actually grab them for the first 1,000 days. And the age of 2 really gives us entrance to those kids' lives by the time they reach about 600 odd days. And we want to start as early as possible, so at least you want to have them potty trained at least to some extent. But we go there up until grade R, which then ensures that they are ready for school. Our next program is the Yarona program, and what that does really is focus on grade 1, 2s and 3s. They come on a Saturday morning and occupy the same space where the ECD is, because we don't have kids on a Saturday there, and they get then instructed in English and mathematics. Reason why we do the English is because come grade 4, our learners in townships then transition through to English as a medium of instruction, whereby in grade 1 and 2 they do home language. Okay. And that jump is often the most difficult for township kids, because English is not mother tongue, and it's not a home language they speak at home every day.
So which home languages do you use or instruct in?
Oh, we do English, but Bona, they come from settings and homes where they speak all our indigenous Afro. Yes.
Now it's 12.
It's 12 now with sign language, yes.
Sign language, yeah.
Correct. And the reason why we do that, really want to just ease that jump when they go to grade 4. South Africa is currently second last in the world in terms of grade 4's reading for meaning. And the reason really is that it's not that our kids are dumb, it's just that they're instructed in home language in grade 1, 2 and 3 at their schools, and then come grade 4 they go into English. And that jump is not a natural jump. And hence we try to teach them from grade 1, actually from our ECD, English is a medium of instruction, so that when that jump comes, at least they had more exposure to the language. And then the mathematics is really about the critical thinking, problem solving, just enhancing those skills.
And so did you start, what's your background in terms of education before joining this organization?
All right, so I spent 10 years in a classroom, make it sound like Mandela's 27 years in prison. I taught maths for 10 years, started with a private school and then went into the government school. And after 10 years, I felt, look, it was time for a change in charge of scenery. And I joined Rays of Hope in 2020, the 1st of March. And but what that also then helped me just in terms of my personal growth was it helped me focus more on my postgrad. So I've just recently graduated with a master's in education, and the idea really is, to bring about change on the whole knowledge formation in South Africa, because a lot of the knowledge we still generate in our varsities is colonial, and if we don't change those institutions of higher learning, our kids will keep getting this knowledge that is not necessarily applicable at all times to them and their struggles.
It's not useful.
In short.
The kind of education that I received, I don't use today. So what made you choose to come and join the Rays of Hope? Is it like does it feel like a calling to you, or because you could be anywhere with the kind of education that you have? Yeah,
and I guess I'm born in Alex. And I think for me it was a full circle to say, the township kid needs that extra. And learned that in school it's difficult to put in that extra because you are governed by laws, by the department, by province, by national. So you need to always operate within those confines and those regulations that are set. The NPO space, much different. We set the tone. We obviously identify what the key need is in the community, and then we get to address that. You know, so post-COVID, one of the things we did at our Saturday school that now focuses on grade 4 to 11 was an introduction of coding, for example, for the grade 9 and 10 and 11s. Exactly, because that's the world we're living in now. You know, and if you were to do that at a government school, you first need to get approvals from the highest office, you know, before you can actually have, because now you can.
And when do you get it?
Exactly. So there's much more flexibility here. The impact that you really bring about, you get to feel and touch much sooner. As long as the funding is there and the resources are there, you get to do. So for me, having that ability to be able to see the impact now, for me, I think was the greater. Teaching is a calling, so I guess it's a deeper calling if you're in an NPO space. Exactly.
I was about to ask about the impact as well, because you speak about you grew up in Alex, and now you've come back to, I'm going to say, serve in Alex. So you're dealing with families. What kind of impact and from the families that you deal with, and also do you find that you are in the lower grade space? We know that the Raise of Hope deals with different kinds of people. You have teenagers, you have teen moms. Do you find that you get to work with different members of the same family but in different programs?
Yeah, so what we've really worked so hard towards was to create the synergy, because in the past, you know, we would deal with a kid who's in grade 1 and not necessarily deal with the sister who's in high school. And what we've done over the last 2 years really is to say, let's start dealing with the whole family. So all the siblings that are in school, all the family members, so the parents themselves, because one of the things that we picked up is, you know, as you teach these kids, and then there'll be certain issues that are coming up, and our social department will start addressing those issues. So take assertiveness, for instance. You know, if you're going to be assertive, you need to start learning to say no, you know, to certain things. But I'm sure you'd agree, in an African culture and context, saying no is taboo. You cannot say no to an adult. And then these kids would go home and, you know, have trouble with parents to say we are delela type of setting, and we had to bring the parents in. Exactly. So on Saturdays, as an extended program, we've got parenting workshops that runs every Saturday, so that what we teach the kids is translated to then what the parents know. You know, a typical story that happened 2-3 years ago was a kid came to the Saturday school with a fresh burn mark on the arm. Inquiring, spoken to the social workers, the father had burnt the child with an iron in the morning because they'd stolen something. The parent is disciplining the child in the best way they know how. But to this very day, the kid is still part of the programs, because the parent was then called in and spoken to about what positive parenting is about and what better ways of disciplining a child speaks about. You know, and obviously that's one of the success stories that you want to see more and more. So for us then to deal with the entire family and not just isolated in terms of education, but to bring in the education, the social element, and how then do we reach out and impact the whole family, I think is one of the things we strive at most.
And do you find that families or people, even as they grow, come back, what kind of feedback do you receive from people that you've worked with, or families that you've worked with over the years?
They stay, they don't leave our programs. What we actually have is them referring more people that they know. So, you know, there are additional family relatives they would refer to say, you know, join this program because these are the benefits I see. But just to make it a bit more practical, within the learning and development space I have, my immediate 2IC, Mahlatse Mabasu, she is a former member at the Saturday school, because the Saturday school has been running for 32 years. Our logistics coordinator within the learning and development was a child at the Saturday school. Our administrator in the learning and development was a child at Saturday school. So all these people have made, and it was not planned, but they've seen the work that was done towards them as learners in school, they came back to volunteer, and in their career paths, came back to work for Rays of Hope. And for me, there's no greater impact than that, to say, 15 years ago, you were a child, benefiting as a beneficiary, and now you are coming back as a full-time staff member, employed by the same organization.
Also, the work that you do is broad. So do you have permanent staff members, or do you work with volunteers, or is it both?
It's half and half. So actually we've got more volunteers than staff members. So we've got a staff complement of 45. Okay. And then our volunteers on a weekly basis, they are about 50. But you obviously have spanning in. You've got people like the tutors at the Saturday school, they're more faithful and they form part of the 50. But then there are people who come and do once-off things, maybe plant a garden. So a lot of the work that we do, without the volunteers, we would not be able to have the impact that we have here.
But you're doing great work, and I know that you're an MPO. Concerning financials, are you able to sustain, how are you able to sustain yourself? Do you have like corporates or individuals that come through and give on a regular basis? And if someone wants to come and help, how do they do that?
Yeah, and in terms of funding, it's both from individuals and corporate. We do not have any government funding. And individuals can do it in one of two ways, mainly. They could just generally give towards Rays of Hope and the work that we do. But the more systemic ways of giving, we've got like a sponsor a child program. So for instance, a child that we have in our program, it costs us R1,000 a month to provide the services that we do, whether it be at the ECD, at the Saturday school, because we provide a meal for them, transportation for them, the space with the social workers as well, the psychosocial support that they get. And we have some individuals who then say, I will sponsor a child for a year. And they would make a contribution towards sponsoring their child. So we've got about 450. So if we had 450 individuals, which we don't have at this point, sponsoring one child every month, all those programs would be able to run effectively. But we've got corporates who will come and say, what do you guys need? So for instance, our office here is completely off the grid in terms of electricity. Yeah. So, to install just solar panels, the batteries, and run that, there was an initial setup cost of about $250,000. So organization would say, all right, we'll cover this portion of it. Like the vehicles we use to transport the kids around. We've got a corporate, a super group that says, every time the vehicle reaches X amount of kilometers, we'll supply you with a new vehicle. You just need to, maintain it, the petrol, the servicing. So yeah, our contributions from individuals and corporates are really what keeps us going. And yeah, I don't think we're in a position to say which gives more. Yeah. But really from an individual saying, I can give 500 a month, to a corporate that says, I'll give a once-off donation of 100,000. That has kept us going for the past 32 years.
And so if someone wants to do that, how do they get on?
Oh no, the simplest way is really just go into our website. It's www.raysofhope.co.za. You'll see all the different options, how you can partner with us. As companies, you can give, individuals you can give. We'll even supply you with a Section 18A certificate, for your tax returns. But really, you can just find which part of the process, because people normally give to what speaks to them. And if the ECD space speaks to you, people give towards that. If Teen Mom speaks to you, what type of services do we give to them, like a toiletry break every month, and we price that on the website, and we know exactly if you give towards this initiative, this is how you can go about, and then obviously just sign up, via the banking.
And obviously with the volunteering as well.
Exactly. So it's not just in cash, in kind as well. So of course all of our tutors at the Saturday school are not teachers, and we prefer it actually that way, to say people who are just passionate about giving of their time. So if someone was good in mathematics at school, we provide you with the curriculum, we provide you with the kids, and then people just come and offer of their time. Like our longest tutor is 12 years, doing this every Saturday, coming in and tutoring on a Saturday, and I think that contribution is more than 1,000 that someone would give towards a child. So we take it in kind and in cash. It's much appreciated. Even the social workers, we've got about 12 full-time employed, but we've got an additional 10 that is volunteering of their time, and they come and just impact our kids differently as well.
That's good. It's good news. It's good to hear good news in South Africa. And so we just thank you for all the hard work that you put in. Siyabonga, and siyabona ababukeli we know that they will come and give as well. So
No.
Thank you for the great opportunity.
No, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the exposure and for joining us on this day.
Thank you so much.
Okay.